Hey guys, I'm Jonny Brotherton. I grew up in private school and every day we had Bible class. What a blast. One day we were talking about people of other beliefs and atheists actually came up and I said, "What's an atheist?" And they said, "That's somebody that believes that they know everything there is to know about the universe and that God does not exist, that they're God because they know everything." And this was actually the belief that stuck with me until I met my very first atheist at work. And at first glance, I had a stigma against him that he was some sort of know-it-all, that he thought he was God. And that wasn't the case. I actually got to know him and he was a really nice individual. This idea of Gnosticism, or knowing something, Gnostic comes from the Greek word gnosis, which means to know. Gnosticism is claiming to know something for absolute truth or absolute fact, where a majority of atheists are actually what they call agnostic atheists, which is exactly the opposite. It's to reserve belief or judgment until the evidence is sufficient. So an atheist isn't somebody that claims that there is no God or that God doesn't exist. I mean, that's crazy. You know, they simply claim that there's not enough evidence for the existence of God. And I think that's a fair position to have. When we look throughout history, all the things that we didn't know or had confusion about, I mean, you even think about lightning bolts. Where did lightning come from? That was Zeus. We have all of these explanations of things that we didn't understand. We tied them to a deity or to a god. And that was how we explained things that we found challenging. A lot of you guys might have heard this called the God of the Gaps argument, or a God of the Gaps argument. And that's simply putting a deity in place of something that we don't know. And that's a position that's based entirely on ignorance. You're relying on something you don't know in order to provide evidence for the existence of a God. We hear it, you know, where did the universe come from? Something can't come from nothing. Or we are in a place in the world where everything looks designed, it's perfect for us. If we were 100 miles closer to the sun, we would burn up, or 100 miles away, we'd freeze. These are all things that are based on ignorance. So when you really look at the Christian argument for the existence of God, at least from a Christian apologist standpoint, it's all agnostic claims. They're all based on things that they don't know. So is there really a difference between atheists and theists in this regard? Well, of course there is. But to say that an atheist is somebody that claims to know everything, a majority of Christians will tell you that they know for a fact that God exists, whereas atheists won't take that position because they're not willing to secede to ignorance to keep their belief and state their worldview. It's important to understand the distinction between these. And if you're one of those individuals that maybe grew up in a private school or grew up in a church and were told these things about atheists, it's very important to know that they're just simply not true. A little Googling will tell you that. So, we talked about agnosticism, we talked about Gnosticism, we know what an atheist is now. Take it, run with it, tell a friend, let somebody know that, hey, atheists are not these know-it-all crazy people that think they're God. That's just not the case. Share this with your friends, let them know that atheists are good people, and you check out Grilling with Atheists. That was one of my personal favorites. It was actually a Feed the Homeless event in Atlanta. We went down to Atlanta and fed the homeless burgers, hot dogs, water, Gatorade, granola bars, Cheetos, tons of stuff. It was a full balanced meal that they could take with them for a couple of days. Atheists are great people. They're really nice to get to know. If you're meeting an atheist for the first time and you have this idea of what they might be or what they might think, talk to them. Give them an opportunity to share with you why they believe the way that they do. They might even ask you some questions about why you believe the way that you do. And don't be afraid to open up to them. There's a lot of things that we were taught at a younger age, especially if you're in a religious institution, that you're supposed to believe these things to be true, regardless of whether they're actually true or not. And when you get to the point where you're starting to question these things and learn, you might find that reality is a little bit different than what we thought it was growing up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and look us up on YouTube, Jonny Brotherton, or Atheist Analysis.